Welcome everyone to the 17th episode of the Bosskey podcast. I'm your co-host mcquack306, joined as always with Jesse. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing good this morning. Jesse Fergoso here, also known as Jebby G on Steam as well as Xbox Live. Doing great this morning. Just had the coffee and ready to go. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, man. This is earlier than normal. I think I may have mentioned it on Twitter, but we are pre-recording this. Uh, well, it's always pre-recorded, but we're doing a double recording this weekend because by the time you're hearing this, Thanksgiving would have already passed, and we wanted to have the weekend free with our family, make plans and stuff like that, but still be able to give you
Yes,
guys
sir.
an episode for the
Yep.
week. So hopefully everybody had a safe Black Friday shopping if you guys do that.
If you did.
Outside,
Outside,
or
yeah.
if you guys just digital, or Cyber Monday by the time this comes out and stuff like that. Good holidays. I hope everybody did have one. This
Same.
episode is centered around JRPGs, Western RPGs, all the RPGs that you,
All the RPGs.
except for the rocket propelling gun type of RPGs, unless they have it. Our RPG
Oh,
rocket
oh,
launcher.
oh, oh, dude. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like rocket propelling. I was like, huh? No, I'm talking about role-playing video games. That's what we talking about today.
Um, let's start off with what's your favorite RPG? We'll go from there. What do
Okay.
you, what is when someone says, "Hey, do you like RPGs?" What's the first game you think of?
Well, the very first game I think of, as far as myself for a series, the first game I officially think of when I hear the words RPG, I think of the tried and true staple Final Fantasy. That's
Yeah.
just something it's been synonymous through the whole video game industry. Final Fantasy is like the poster child of RPGs. It's like the standard that all other RPGs try to go with. But if I'm talking about my personal favorite series of all time, it's actually the Diablo series. That is
Diablo.
the Diablo series. 100%. It is my favorite Blizzard game in general. It was the one that instead of StarCraft, instead of Warcraft, I loved strategy games as well, which is those two, StarCraft and Warcraft, but Diablo is what kept me in. Like that's and it's more of an action-oriented RPG. Um, but everything's happening live and the dungeons the dungeon raiding, the gear hunting, leveling up your character through the different areas of strength, dexterity, and also using potions and finding new weapons every time and finding out which weapon gives you bonuses that are needed, and you're getting stronger and stronger and stronger as you are working your way down the dungeon. I'm gonna use Diablo One as an example. It's Diablo One is stuck in mostly one area, but it turns into different levels every four stages when you go down. It starts off like in like a broken down monastery, and then it goes down into a cave system, and then you start going into it goes into the pits of hell, and then it goes into caverns, and then the pits of hell, and then you're actually in hell. But by the time you meet Diablo, you should be at your strongest
Mhm.
form. And it was one of those games that in RPG world, it was a rude awakening. That if you don't have your character leveled up, or if you don't do what's known as the grind, good luck. You're gonna survive three hits. You're only gonna survive one or three hits, or one magic flame wall is gonna annihilate you. But Diablo is my favorite all time series, and I've definitely grew up with more of what's known as the Western style of RPGs. So
More
a
action
lot of a lot
oriented.
and more action oriented. They were more known in the states or created in the states than from Japan. I have played some from Japan, definitely in
Hmm.
my video game travels, but I've definitely had more of the Western style. So, what about yourself? If I were to tell you, McQuack, I want you to recommend an RPG right now, this second, from all time, what would you say?
Well, it's not as known as I mean, I would agree with you too with Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy, you can just pick one, and each one are unique in terms of story and sometimes the way they level up. But for me, the one that I really loved was one of the first ones that I remember just going through and completing was the Golden Sun series. I played, and it's the weird story of me getting the second one before the first one. Just because it didn't say number two, it just said Golden Sun, the Lost Age, and I didn't feel lost at all. It just felt like a continuation, like if I was, it was part of like a sequence that was happening, and I loved it. I feel like that's the one of the easiest RPGs I've ever played that anybody can get into. I was about maybe 11, 12 at the time when I got it, and it's great. It's you go through the world. The world is like collapsing upon itself because of four lighthouses, and the four houses lighthouses are like elementals. You got, and they're going off like the planets Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, Venus, and they go by like Earth, fire, wind, and water. And somebody's trying to light up all four lighthouses so that they can get the ultimate power.
Hmm.
And by the time you start the second one, I believe half of them have been lit, and so the whole world is like in chaos and it's crumbling. So you're trying to stop the lighthouses from being lit, but of course, it's an RPG, and that's what you're trying to fight against. And you have these characters, and each of them are from a different lighthouse type of thing. Like you have your fire based character, you have your wind, water, and earth, but what's interesting about this one is that they also had this Pokemon mechanic of you can find these things called gens, which were spirits of those elements, and you can have a character that has all eight, let's say Earth, and so you become a really like powerful Earth,
Ooh.
master, and you
Okay.
can create spires, you can create earthquakes and stuff like that. But then you can also mix it up if you like, and you can have, let's say, half Earth and half fire. So now you have different abilities because of that. And not only that, depending on the gens or the little monsters that you have
Mhm.
set to on set, you can also summon earth or the elemental deities. So
Mhm.
like I remember it was like two earth gens. If you had them set, you called upon this thing called Ramses, I think, and it was basically like a pyramid would show up, and he would just start stomping on the enemies. And then there was like,
Ooh.
if you had three of them, it would be like this tree that would throw out seeds, and then those seeds would grow out like real quick into like branches with spikes and stuff like that, and damage the enemy. So a lot of it was pretty cool. And then like the fourth one, like of an earth element, was like some dragon that would go up all on the sky and then like do some like meteor attack, and it was really cool because
Oh.
this was all on the Game Boy Advance. So you're playing this, and I'm playing this. I'm like 11, 12 years old, and I see this dragon appear and just destroy the Earth. It looks like he's just destroying the Earth, and then you see the damage being done to the enemies. It was really cool. I love that RPG. I still own them, and I've played them here and there. Like I'll just go through a playthrough randomly when I go through my drawers and I see my Game Boy Advance and my Golden Sun cartridge there, and I still own the original ones since I was a kid. Um, that's one of my favorite JRPGs. It was my first one of my first JRPGs as well. I think it is one of the easiest if you're not playing Final Fantasy
Mhm.
to really get into. But like you're more into the Western RPGs. I've always been more akin to the JRPGs. I love the turn based. I love those types of like strategic. Oh, am I gonna defend or attack? Am I gonna heal myself, or try to flee? It was that type of stuff that I liked in my JRPG combats. Um,
Nice.
but I did dabble in some Western RPGs,
Mhm.
like you were talking about Diablo, and I
Yes.
remember one of the things, mainly Diablo 3, that I loved about that, and I know we had a discussion about this earlier in one of the earlier episodes, and I really liked the bright colors of the items that you received. You know, you can
Mhm.
get there's a I think it was white for like a regular one or yellow. I
Yeah.
forgot. White, and
It's
then there
white.
was.
White is like the regular item,
Hmm.
and then blue was like the more like a little. So it was getting a little bit more rare, or it wasn't. It was more like a magic item then, and
Yeah,
then like yellow, it just starts getting like more like, oh shoot, like it starts becoming more known. Like you're gonna get like the name of that specific item.
yeah, and and then I think it was orange, or orange was like the you had to identify the artifact or something like that.
Oh, that's a
Uh,
legendary item.
yeah, legendary.
There you go. That's
I
a legendary.
loved that aspect of just knowing what I like, looking at all the colors,
Yeah.
looking at all that, like, oh, I see purple or I see orange, and that's what drew me onto Diablo at first. I know it's supposed to be more of a dark um, aesthetic, but it got me. I mean, they knew what they were doing, and it got me with the Diablo 3 aesthetics of the colors, and I've seen that now. I don't know if I don't know if Diablo 3 was the first one, but I started noticing it more. Like I noticed it with Borderlands
Yeah.
when they started doing that. Destiny does that as well. Um,
You know,
so
I feel that a lot of this is actually attributed. Everything you're just talking about, like the brighter colors and making the change. I think that's attributed to another RPG, which was one of the most popular at the time, in 2004, World of Warcraft.
okay,
Because that's
that's
not that's
yeah.
I feel that's when that art style is starting to, because Warcraft 3 started having a strategy game. This was not an RPG, but Warcraft 3 started having like the 3D models, and it was more colorful than StarCraft. Was not as colorful. It wasn't. It was still
Hmm.
more like gray, but there was like some colors. But Warcraft 3 first had like more colorful type characters. They tried to like more polygons there, but I feel like World of Warcraft changed the world at that time, and a lot of games started getting that treatment from there. The colors started coming from there, which is actually what I believe is the reason why Diablo 3 became like the way it was, because it definitely has World of Warcraft influence.
Okay.
So they're kind of riding with the hot hand right now. It's going like, oh, like this is going good. So how can we incorporate this into Diablo, so that way we'll get the World of Warcraft fans to come over here. Which is, again, this is not fact or anything, but that's how I feel. The reason why they changed the art style at the time.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it worked. I mean, Diablo
yeah,
3 has been popular for the longest. It's been almost 10 years, I believe, since Diablo 3 released.
and seasons are still going strong on that thing. They just there are people that have now there are people that grind that thing to the bone, where they have during the seasons in their armor, they're already past level 100, and then after you pass level 100 you get the paragon levels, and then their paragon level like up the wazoo, and they're killing like waves of enemies in Torment 5 with all the epic gear that they're getting. Torment 6, and I mean, I never jumped into the I've done Torment 1 and 2. That's about the highest I've done, but there are people that really delve into that, and that's the beautiful thing about RPGs, getting stronger and stronger and stronger and bigger and badder and like, and it's up to everyone's preference on whichever one they want to do. If they want to do the more turn based, or if they want to do action based, role playing games are they there's one thing that I'll agree on: role playing games, though, they are some of the bigger time sinks of games.
Yeah, that's what I loved
They
as a
were,
kid.
yeah,
I loved,
these.
I loved getting a game like that and knowing that I wasn't gonna beat it that afternoon. Wasn't gonna beat it in a weekend.
Oh,
Golden Sun. I mean, just in comparison, I beat the A Link to the Past because there was a Game Boy Advance version of it, and I beat that version. Maybe it took me about maybe a weekend at best. It took me probably maybe I got it on Friday, played through. I probably beat it by Sunday. Still loved it as a kid. Still loved A Link to the Past because I went again and I did a second playthrough to try to get everything. And but Golden Sun, The Lost Age, I remember it took me maybe a month. It took me a month,
yeah,
and that's me as a kid with so much time, so much energy,
it
and no
still took a
work.
month.
And it took me a month. I was playing through. I'm like, man, there's so much. There's some parts that I got lost, and I had to try to figure out and talk to everybody, talk to the NPCs. Hey, what's going on? Where do I go? And it took me a month, and that's what I loved about the JRPGs because you cannot beat them. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are speedrunners that can beat them now,
Oh,
or know how to do it. But like you said, I love that grind. I love
mhm.
fighting enemies, getting stronger to the point where the enemies no longer are like, a strong point. Move on to the
Mhm.
next area, and then you see this new enemy that does actually real damage to you, and you're like, okay, now I have to. This is where I'm gonna be at. This is where my time sink is at, which is kind of different from the Western RPGs to some certain extent. But it reminded me of Final Fantasy VII. The difference, like how
Mhm.
you're saying about the Western influence,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, traditional JRPG, 4 discs on PS1, and it's a lengthy game, and it's so big that when they translate it into a remake, they could only get a portion of it. That portion is really like an hour and a half, 2 hours of the original game.
Wow.
But they made it so that I mean, I think I beat that one in about 25 hours, the remake,
Mhm.
um, and it's I like what they did with it. The action sequences, it's pretty
Nice.
good. It's modernized, and um, I like how they done that. Have you ever played it? Did you have a chance to play remake yet or no?
I dabbled in it. I played a little bit in the beginning. So at first, no lie, when I first started playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, I first started and I'm like, wow, everything's looking like great. And then I realized they changed it. I was actually expecting turn-based.
Uh
I
huh.
was
Yeah.
waiting for turn-based combat to begin. And then it didn't. It started having like action sequences. I was like, what? Like, whoa, 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 whoa! I thought this was a remake of Final Fantasy VII. I mean, I thought they were just going like straight up, like they're just gonna incorporate the turn base. No, they didn't. They just went with the action oriented version, which is great for me. It works in my favor, but I did like the way how I was controlling it. Um, but I kind of did want to play it in its original form, kind of, because I wanted to. Because I'll admit, the first time that I ever played Super Mario RPG was my first RPG I ever played as a kid, and that was the first time that I was introduced to turn-based anything. And then I'm just like, I'm just going with the music where it's going like da 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 da, and like it's the battle music, and then it's telling me to push a button. I'm like, I want to jump on the guy. I want to just do what I did. So I'm
I want to just jump on the guy.
I know, right? That's
Let me jump on the Goomba.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is I jump on the Goomba because Super Mario RPG is one of those games where the enemies are in the overworld. It's not just super random battles. You can
Oh,
choose to
okay.
be in the battles,
Yeah.
so the enemies are already there. So I go do my Mario brain thing to just jump on the enemy like I normally would, and then I was like, whoa, what happened? And then
Where
it
am I
takes
going?
me, and then it takes me to a battle screen. I was like, what is this? Like I'm all like, what is this? But I did end up loving it afterwards. After I had to learn what it is. Was I confused at first? Yeah, because I've never played something like this before. Um, but I kind of wish I want that experience back again. I haven't played a turn-based RPG in a long time. Question: Is Dragon Quest XI turn-based or is that action RPG?
It's turn based.
Good. Because I want to go back into that again. Thank goodness.
And I
Because
think you were checking it out on Game Pass, right?
I want to check it out on Game Pass. I kept looking at it. And I was like, please be turn based. Please be turn based. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake also has the option to make it more turn based. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's. I think they even put it on easy mode because that's. I think easy mode is turn based, and then normal mode is just regular combat.
Oh, okay. Because I only played it on normal mode. Okay, so if I put it on easy mode, it'll be more turn based. But one of my buddy Russell's favorite games, Final Fantasy VIII remake. No, it's not a remake. It's a remaster. It's the original game.
Yeah.
That's one that I would want to play because that one's back to the original turn-based style. And I guess now because you already know I'm a big fan of the fighting games and the FPS games. Of course, the action oriented is going to be more like my akin to what I like, but um, learning from the patience of turn based of strategizing kind of puts my brain at like a pause. Like, all right, just think it through, let it go. Like, let like what do I do next? oh man, this person's dying. Oh, this person's down. I need to use a Phoenix down or pick me up, which was called in another items, like reviving your fallen comrades. And I do want to get more involved with the turn-based again, because I think now everything's almost like
Action.
JRPGs. JRPGs are still out there. They're there. They're not dead. They're not gone. They're still all over the place. You got to find them, but they're a little bit more harder to find. Like
I
they're
think
not
I think
pasted up on there. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think what they're a lot of them are doing because of the recent ones that I've been playing. They do almost like a mix between the two. Now,
Yeah.
the way I see it, the one I want to show an example of is the Tales of Arise. That's one that I've been going through as well, and it's my first Tales game, so I've never played a Tales game before.
Tales of Symphonia is one of the popular ones, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I even know that one, but I've never played it. But I know the name. But there's a Tales of Arise which came out this year, which is really good. It's a really fantastic game, and the way they do it, it's kind of like an arena, right? You see the enemies in the open world, and you know, just like how you did with the Super Mario RPG, you hit the enemy and it goes into that special arena where you can
yeah.
move around. So there's that action sequence of
You can move a
moving
lot.
around and attacking, but there's also special attacks that have a time bar.
Hmm.
So while you're doing these special, your regular attack, you can't just spam the attack button. There's like only a certain amount you can do, and it tries to push you to do other special moves because if you spam the special, you won't, like, I guess, hit this combo meter, where if you
Mm.
do, like, let's say you hit the triangle, then you do the square and then circle, you might hit the breaking point where you can now do like a special combo with your partner, and that's
Okay.
what it kind of pushes it to you. So it kind of has like that time. You can't just keep spamming an attack. You have to kind of let it wait. So there's that turn based action,
Okay.
which is kind of weird, but it works. I actually liked how it worked in Tails because it didn't make me just start spamming the attack button and there, I'm done. No, you have to, like, kind of time it properly, know what combo you're using. You kind of don't want to do let's say the downward thrust attack when your enemy is already on the floor. So there's one where you
Mm.
can throw the enemy up in the air, then you jump, you start attacking, you start attacking with your sword, and then you want to do the downward thrust, and that's a combo in itself.
Okay.
So it kind of lends itself to, like, okay, don't spam the same attack, but these attack makes sense if you're doing it in the correct order. That's what I kind of like what they're doing. If they're trying to find a middle ground, hey, we still want that turn based kind of, but we also
Mm.
don't want them to be bored or because it's hard to get. I think it's harder for Western audience to understand that turn based action.
Yeah. We like things fast. We like we get very impatient a lot of the times, and it's and especially like waiting for turns and things to happen. It's like, okay, okay, he's right there in front of me. I could get him. Wait, what do you mean it's not my turn? My turn? Wait, the enemy's attacking me. Wait, why can't I defend? Like, why can't I do things? It's like, um, it's just at least that's again the way I was thinking about when I was first playing RPGs younger. I was like, what do you mean I can't move or I can't do this? But then, as you learn later, um, it's just the way that it goes. It's taking a pause to think about everything instead of jump 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 boom 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 move. Just doing everything right away.
Hmm.
It's like how we've already mentioned a lot. Think about what you got to do right now. If you have the ability to see the enemies again, can you get into an encounter right now? Should you get into one? Um, but in other games like Final Fantasy, you have to look out about what going around the overworld because that's where where encounters could happen. That one's like a little bit more random. In Pokemon, should I walk on the tall grass right now? Or oh my gosh, I got to get ready to walk into the tall grass. Pokemon, of course, one of the most popular RPGs ever. Again, as well. Um, I personally feel is the most popular RPG in the world besides Final Fantasy. It's the one that got a lot of people into RPGs in general.
I
Like
like
if anyone wants a stepping stone, that Pokemon is a good stepping stone.
I like Pokemon. I've always loved Pokemon and I still do. But
Hmm.
the thing that I love about Pokemon is that you are the person determining your team at all
Yep.
times. At all times, you can either make it easy or make it super hard. You know, if you're playing the original one, you know you're gonna be in a rough time if you pick Charmander because you know the first boss, first gym leader is all rock types, and
Yep.
second one is water.
Good luck with
Third
that.
third is electric type, which doesn't mean much in that
Neutral.
it's
Yeah.
kind of neutral. It's not until you get to the grass type, which is halfway through the game, where you're like, okay, now I can easily run through this boss.
Yeah.
But you can change. You could pick your team. In other games like Dragon Quest, you do get a team.
Hmm.
Um, and also Final Fantasy, you get a team,
Yep.
but nothing like Pokemon where you have 151 options, at least in the first one. Now,
Hmm.
now with the new ones, you have like options of I don't know, like over 600 Pokemon to choose from.
Right. And
So
and and there's way, I think more like 800 or something. There's a lot of Pokemon
yeah,
out there. They again, the Switch version that just came out, even with as big as the Switch is, they can't even put the whole Pokédex in there at first. You have to
yeah,
add it by extension. That's how many there are.
but
They can't render so many dang Pokemon. They
that
can't render that
that's what
many.
the combat. Another aspect I wanted to talk about with RPGs is the story and characters within those RPGs.
Oh yeah, some of the best storytelling is in all RPGs.
Yeah, one that I'm recently going through, and this is a Western one. I'm already on the third one, which is Mass Effect,
Yes.
and I had never played them before, and I'm playing the Legendary Edition,
Hmm.
and that's what got me hooked onto Mass Effect. I didn't think I was gonna
Nice.
get hooked, but it's the characters as much as it's the gameplay and combat, which is more action oriented. It's the characters and being able to determine, okay, this is how my character will look like. This is how my Commander Shepard will look like, and this is what I would want to say, and I go with it. Oh, do I want to save this person? Do I want to save that person? Do I want to fight him? Do I agree or not agree? Stuff like that. Oh, where should we go? This is how we should do the attack. Stuff like that. That's what I loved about Mass Effect is the free ability to decide for my character on how I want to handle the story. And the story
Nice.
changes depending on your decisions, your choices, your teammates. Um, I love that in RPGs. That's one of the best examples that I can think of an RPG, of a real RPG, letting you role play, letting you play as your character that you want with the environment that you're in. Do you have any examples of like that you've played that you just love the story or the characters that are so memorable as much as the combat itself?
As much as like the combat itself and everything, I would like to say the personal choices you get to make in Fallout 3 is amazing. That would be my go-to there. I didn't start with Fallout 1 or 2. I didn't have a computer at that time,
I
which I
think I think
heard
many people were like that.
yeah,
I had
many
never.
because Fallout, yeah, 1 and 2 definitely. I actually can play 1 now on my X. I can play now on my PC because I have the Game Pass Ultimate, so I can actually play 1 on PC and
On
2 on
500 frames.
PC. Yeah, of course, 500 frames, baby. I'm playing like a 30-year-old game at 500 frames per second. It's gonna go like, you know what? Quick little tidbit. I tried playing Sonic Adventure 2 yesterday on the faster computer. It actually runs too fast. I actually had to slow my
Oh
computer
wow,
down.
Sonic was
It
too
was
fast.
it was too fast. I can't control him or do anything. So you know what? I'm just gonna stick to certain games on console because I guess my computer is too beastly
I
to
told
run
you,
it.
it's those 500 frames.
Dang, 500 frames. I got to slow it down to like 200. But Fallout 3 is the one where all the choices are being made. That it was my first immersion into a world of making choices that are going to affect the whole game in the future. It affects the whole map in the future. Oh my goodness, biggest decision of all time. Do you set up the nuke to detonate in that town, or do you not? What? Like, and you get to choose all that, and
Yeah,
and then you could choose not to and just let the town just live on its normal humdrum. You can choose to disarm it forever to make it never active again, or you can choose to set everything up and then you go to the tower and you see your explosion that you
that
caused,
was awesome.
and and,
That was
and
awesome.
then and then you are in negative karma hell if you do that. It's like, it gives you the most ultimate negative. Like,
That's when you
whoa,
know you have to be a bad guy like the
you
rest of
are
the
a
game.
bad guy. Like, no way. Like, there's no saving you there. You are the bad guy if you're there. Like I feel. I will not lie. I've only seen videos of people detonating the nuke. I personally couldn't detonate the nuke. I was like, no, I can't kill all the people in that town.
I think I did it
But
later. I think I did it
you did it
after
later.
my initial playthrough. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
what happens if I do this?
And yeah, like, well, let's see. And then decisions with what you do can affect the ending throughout. What kind of person are you? Are you a savior? Do you want to work with the Enclave? Do you feel like you should get rid of all mutants? Do you feel you shouldn't? Everyone should have a chance. These are all things that you can do. Like, these are, and this game has more than a plethora of
Do
endings
you
that you
join
can
the
replay.
Brotherhood of Steel, the
Yeah, like,
Enclave? Like,
there's like, what is it? Do you remain neutral? Do you like, what is it? Do you I'm not gonna give any spoilers here because I don't want to make sure everyone plays Fallout 3 because it is great. Play it if you haven't. Fallout 3, it's on Xbox Game Pass and everything. Just give, if you want a Western RPG, it's beautiful.
hmm
Play that. But also, leveling up all your different characteristics actually help you with the decisions that you make during, like,
yes.
there's a statement called, there's a little stat of charisma. More
hmm
charisma that you got, the better you are going to be at swaying people to do what you want to do. And it was the most interesting game ever. And at first I got it as a first person shooter first and foremost, but it had all these elements that just made it better. It just made it so much better. Instead of just going in, it's a breath of fresh air that you get to do more choices besides have a mini nuclear nuke launcher, the Fat Man. Yeah, the
Yes.
best weapon ever. Um, but that was my first game that I had a lot of decisions that affected me, and you're going out to find your father. You find out what happens to your father, and you determine the lives of everyone in Washington D.C.
I remember
That's
playing that game for the first time. It was Josh's brother, Brian, and he
Mhm.
showed it to me. He's like, "Hey, look, this is when I was barely trying to get back into gaming,
Mhm.
and I didn't know anything about Fallout 3. It was already out. He had it,
Mhm.
and he's like, look at what you can do and stuff like that." And I was like, "Okay, that looks pretty cool." And I borrowed it, and I tried playing it, and it was just like, I don't think I even got past the vault. I felt
Really?
it was so boring. I was like, what am I doing here? And I'm like, this is so boring. This is what the game is. And I gave it back to him. And
Uh,
then I think like 6 months later, I had some more games in me. I started playing more games, and then I was
uh,
like, hey, what's that Fallout game again?
you
What's
asked
that?
them
What's
what
that
it
Fallout
was.
game again? And he let me borrow it again, and he's like, you have to get through the vault, and then try that. And yeah, I pushed myself to get past the vault, and I saw the open world. I'm like, whoa!
Yup.
And I go to this small town, and it's all deserted. It's all bleaked out and destroyed. But then I see like this huge metal dome. I'm like, is this the Thunderdome? What is this? And I go into it, and yeah, that's when it clicked. That's when it clicked for me. I'm like, and I remember going back to him, like, here's your copy. He's like, already? And I'm like, because it was like the next day. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna go buy my own copy because I actually like what I played. And
Yes.
so I remember going to GameStop, and they had the collector's edition for $20 because it was old already.
Boom.
It was old already, so I got. They're like, I'm like, what does it come with? It's like, oh, it's like the lunch pail. It comes with the lunch box and stuff like that. I'm like, okay,
You,
I'll get the lunch box.
you get
And
yourself? Did you get yourself a Pip Boy?
no,
Oh man, that's the
I
Super Delector's Edition, right?
yeah, I think yeah, or at least the fourth one. I don't
Oh,
remember the
okay.
Pip Boy coming on
They
the third
never.
one.
Oh, they didn't do the Pip. Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah,
I thought they did.
I did get the one on the
Uh,
fourth one though.
for the Pip Boy, nice.
But yeah, it was one of those like it was kind of like a slog for me at first, but once I got into the open world and it clicked for me. I know the combat is very hit or miss because they weren't really going for a first person shooter. They
Yeah,
were going for RPG. Like, hey, your stats matter. Just because you're pointing doesn't mean that your character is actually gonna shoot there. You
yeah.
had to increase your gun efficiency, small gun, and
Hmm.
they had separate ones too. Gun efficiency
Yeah.
on small guns, big guns. What was it? Nuclear weapons or energy weapons for it. So
Hmm.
I love Fallout 3, and that got me to play Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4.
Nice.
Um, I heard Fallout 76 is getting better. I haven't played that in a while, but um, in
That's
terms of
another one with a rocky start. They said it's a rocky start to that
yeah,
one.
but in terms of story and your characters and your character actually having an influence within the world, uh, I love Fallout as well, with
Yeah.
Mass Effect. But I think along what I mean to continue the Western RPG is The Witcher. I don't know if you played The Witcher
Not
yet.
yet. I did just buy it though. I got it on a Thanksgiving sale, so I got The Witcher 3.
So Witcher
So I
3
did.
is like I think it's my like favorite game of like ever.
Yeah.
It's one of those that the combat gets a lot of hate for it being kind of boring, but if you know what you're doing, and if you're actually playing it in hard mode, it's pretty demanding. It's pretty like it demands your attention on what you're doing and the actions. But that's
Okay.
another one where the story, the world, um, your actions do take change into the world. You can actually make a difference, and it also changes the ending that you have. You could have a good, bad,
Nice.
or neutral ending. But you just bought it on the sale, and that's
Yeah.
one of the best games that you can get on sale. What'd you say, $10? $10 for the
$10. Game
game
of
of
the
the
Year
year
edition.
edition. Yeah, and you got it on
10
where?
bucks.
On your Xbox?
Xbox, a Microsoft Store on Xbox. Yep.
And the good thing about that is that they're going to be having a free next gen upgrade next year. So I don't know if you want to
Yes.
hold off and then just leave it there. I mean, you got it for $10, and then experience it with the next gen version. But
I might need a new hard drive because I'm running out of space already. What terabyte fills up faster than you think? There's so many games I want to play on Game Pass, and at the same time, ones that I wanted to buy like on sale. I was like, oh my gosh, I filled it up. I also got another RPG. I got Dark Souls remastered on the
okay,
recommendation from you as well. So everything I got yesterday. The Witcher, Dark Souls Remastered. Okay, going off of RPGs for 2 seconds. I got the Silent Hill HD collection because I want to play Silent Hill 2 again. Um, Batman Return to Arkham, some of the two best Batman games out there. $5. Thanksgiving sale. By the time this episode comes out, it should maybe still be on sale, but it might still be on sale at that time. But get on the Xbox. I got the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, the deluxe edition. Um, that's what I got, but I definitely wanted to increase the RPG role, so that's why I got The Witcher and I got Dark Souls remastered because Dark Souls is talked about everywhere. It's as the hardest thing. Yes, it is hard because I played yesterday, and my goodness, like if you just walk in. Well, first off, I did like how you create your character right from the get go,
yes,
and then you're kind of like you're kind of like just dumped in there, and then you're kind of just walking around, and you start off. You know how hard this game is? They start you with a sword without a sword. They start
I
you
know
with a
how
sword
hard it
that's just
is.
a
I
hilt.
know how hard it is.
They start you with a sword that's not a complete sword. It's the hilt with like a chopped off part of it. I was like, really? This is what you're giving me as my sword? And I had to find my shield, and then I get like an arrow in the face immediately. I'm trying to walk upstairs. I'm like, oh, I was like, dude. But yeah, if I'm already going like this from the get go, I'm like, crap. Here we go. Like I'm in it for I'm in
the
it for the long haul. Let's
the
go.
the Soul series is a good example of two, I guess, two cultures or two different identities going into one. This is a Japanese developed game, but it's really more in a Western style. It's more action
Oh,
oriented. It's more in terms of that. In terms of the combat,
yeah.
it's more action oriented. Um, and the story is very cryptic. A lot of the story that you'll see isn't
Mhm.
in cutscenes or through dialogue, like just general dialogue. It's very like item usages and then some
Okay.
stuff that you read on like a statue or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Soul series, that's a good one to get to begin
Mhm.
with. That's my first Dark Souls game. I was able to platinum it on PS3, which
Nice.
was even harder because that thing was like at 15 frames per second.
Ugh.
In Blighttown, people who played it, they know what I'm talking about. But the newer versions, the remastered, it it's so much better. You're gonna be playing it like how it should have been played at the beginning.
Yeah.
But you know, I wish you good luck on your Souls series. Do not throw your controller. Do not get mad when the enemy is like at 10% health and you just die. And because
Oh man, that's gonna make my heart hurt so bad when I see if I see that happen. I'm like, oh come on.
I love the Soul series for that though. It's super
Same
difficult,
here.
but it's fair. It you die
Yes.
because of yourself. You're trying to try to look at the enemy patterns, try to look at the boss and the way it attacks, the way it's about to attack. There's always signs like it
Mm.
to warn you, to warn the character. Like if they raise a hand, you know that they're about to throw a slash at you, or they're gonna hit you with their tail and stuff like that. Oh,
Okay.
just pro tip: always go for the tail.
Always go for the tail.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're at a boss, always hit the tail.
Okay.
That
Tail's
that's
weak
that's
point.
that's all I'm gonna say.
Like
Is
Goku in Dragon Ball.
yes, like
Go
monkey
go for the
Goku.
tail. Monkey Goku. Go for the tail. Go for the tail. Go. Always go for the tail. Um, to actually jump into that for since you mentioned since I just said Dragon Ball right now, going for the tail.
Oh yeah.
Um, Dragon Quest VIII was a game that I really liked in my PlayStation 2 era time. So that was another time that I dabbled more into the Japanese RPGs at that time,
And you got it
which I
into it.
loved.
You got into it because of the art style, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because it looked exactly like it. So I was like, I just looked up at both of them. I'm all like, oh, Kira Toriyama had the artistic effect for that. So yeah, I was already jumped into it from then and there.
And they've kept that art style, which I love. That's like Dragon Quest art style is that Dragon Ball Z look from the
Yep.
artist, and that's also an aspect that I like to talk about games specifically on this show is the RPGs art styles that capture us that say, hey, you know what, that game has a good art style. This is what interests me. I see the cover, yeah, I'll get it. Like uh not so much today, at least, because everything's online. You can see stuff. Oh, let me see gameplay. But
Yeah, yeah.
like I think we've talked about it at another episode of just going to the store and looking at the cover art
Oh yeah.
and being like,
The
you see Dragon Quest 8. I remember that cover, and you see Dragon Ball Z characters. You're like, what is this? Dragon Quest, and then you look at the back and I'm like, that looks pretty cool. I like the colors, I like the art style, of course, and it draws you in. For me, something similar like that is the Persona series. Persona series, I don't know if you've seen those yet, but it has
I've
amazing art style.
I've seen them, but I haven't played them. I usually know them from more of the popular characters, like the Joker that's in Smash Brothers. That's a popular Persona character,
Okay,
right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
from the
So
latest one, yeah.
from the latest one, yeah, I've seen popular like popular characters from it, and I'm actually very confused about the Persona series because there's like a lot of different areas that Persona goes. Like, is Persona just its own series, or is it like a part of another series? Like,
It's a side game. So the main one is the Shin Megami Tensei. I don't know if you've heard
okay,
of those, but they just
yeah.
released Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I'm playing as well. That's my
I saw that one. I saw that one on Twitter a lot. Yeah,
yeah. That's
the
my
five.
first.
That's one.
That's my first Shin Megami, but I've mostly dabbled into the side games, which are the Persona ones. And I don't think they, I don't, I think they were always, it always started like Shin Megami Tensei Persona or Persona Shin Megami Tensei, something like that. And I think it wasn't until the third one or the fourth one where they just said Persona. It just became it became that popular that it
Huh.
just made it its own. They just started going off of that just Persona, and the Persona series. I love the art style of the monsters of the demons, and the characters and stuff like that. I know you're on PC. If you do want to dabble, in the Persona series or more turn based, unfortunately, there's not that many. I don't think there is any on Xbox. But they're mainly on PlayStation, but they do have it on PC as well.
Okay.
I would go for Persona 4 Golden. That was my first one, and then I started getting the other ones. Like I started playing Persona 3 after, and then Persona 5. But the art style is really good. The music is amazing. It's one of
Okay.
those like it's jazzy, catchy tunes that you're kind of like, what is this? It's like J-pop meets jazz. It's weird, and when you start listening to it, you're like, that's pretty weird. But it's you start hearing it in the background to the point where sometimes I remember I was in college playing Persona 4 Golden on my PS Vita, rest in peace Vita,
No.
and I would have the music in the background just studying because it was relaxing. It's relaxing music, and check it out.
This is
Check out the
this is
Persona.
this is where I'll go right here. Stop me, baby. You already had me at music. You already had me. You already had me that it has great music. I'll take your word for it if it has that. I'm gonna Spotify that album too. Now that you said that, I hope it's on the album because I hope it's on there because Spotify again has a great plethora of music selection. But if it has a great soundtrack, that's gonna get me in right away. That's gonna get me. Persona 4, you said, right?
Yeah, check out Persona 4
Yeah.
Golden. That's on PC. There's also Persona 5, which is I know you have a PS4, so you can play that one as well.
Okay.
But that's one that I know a lot of people have been wanting. Hey, put Persona 4 on Xbox and put it on PS4, put it on everything pretty much.
Okay.
So
So
unfortunately,
it's.
we've only had it on PC and Vita. That should have a
Hmm.
port everywhere else.
You know what's really interesting? The way I noticed the way I noticed Persona more, there actually was a Persona fighting game.
Yes, that one I
So
think is
Persona 4 Arena, that was a fighting game.
yeah,
So
I
that wasn't turn-based. So this is again where my confusion came from because I thought
oh
Persona was like a fighting game, but then a lot of people are saying it's an RPG, and I'm like, huh? Like, well, which one is it? Like, what is it? What does it go with? But no, it's originally an RPG, but they made a fighting game version. I guess Persona 4 was so popular, they just made it into a fighting game as well.
yeah, I think it's like Ultimate Max Arena or
Yeah.
something like that, and it's just a
Um,
bunch of Persona characters, and it
like they
actually has its
said,
own
yeah,
story.
it has its own story itself.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I think that one is backwards compatible on Xbox, but
Oh,
it's just like I think the
yeah.
regular fighting one.
They released it alongside with Persona 4 Golden, so
Yeah.
it's side by side. Interesting thing too. I think this is the game where, um, again, I don't know my characters, but I remember a video on YouTube where they were trying to discuss like fighting game mechanics. There was like this baseball character that there was like a baseball like centric character, and he had different little things that he would get a strike or an out or a base hit or something, and it would level him up during a fighting game. So it's like at first I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot of things to pay attention to. This is a complex fighting game already in itself. Um, but yeah, the Joker was the one I knew the most of. But see, this is why, man. I gotta improve my RPG levels, man. I have to level up in my RPGs. Go aside. Corny joke aside. I will continue playing more and more role playing games because leveling up is fun. Leveling. the grind is fun when it's for the right reasons. And turn-based again is something I just want to go back to harken to my olden days. I mean, I think the most recent games I'm probably going to jump into. I'm probably going to get myself a Brilliant Diamond. I think that was released already. So we'll be back into Pokemon at that time. Um, and I actually wanted to get into um, Fallout 4 itself, back to jump back into the Western style. Fallout 4 is one that I missed, but
Oh,
now I can play it
really?
on the PC. I missed out on Fallout 4 because I never got it on the Xbox One, so I never played that one yet. I heard mixed reviews in the past, but then I heard it got better.
Look, I'll say this. Play Fallout 4.
Just play Fallout 4.
I loved it. I actually loved it at launch, and
Okay.
I know a lot of people didn't, but I still love the world, the level designs, the grind, or the leveling up and stuff like that. So I really love Fallout 4. I think I beat it again 2 years ago on the
Okay.
Xbox because I had already beat it on PS4, so I was like, let me beat it on Xbox. And they did also have an update on the Series X where it runs at 60 frames per second.
Sweet.
So
What city is this one based off of?
in Boston.
Boston. Okay. So we're
So
moving from Washington D.C. to Boston now.
yeah,
Fallout
and
3 is Washington D.C.
it's really good. I would highly recommend it. And you have Game Pass. It's on Game Pass.
Yep. I can get
So
it on my PC or my Xbox, whichever one.
yeah.
Until I get my 60-inch big old TV at some point in the future, keep it on the PC. But once I get the 60-inch with the actual hertz that I want, I'll get my 500 FPS off of my TV with the Xbox power. Well, actually, just kidding. I'm gonna run games at 4K 60. I want 4K. Dang. I want 4K gaming.
Um
Go
the
ahead. Go ahead.
There was a classic one that I did want to mention on the show. I didn't want to move past it. It's actually one of my favorite JRPGs, and it released on the original PlayStation 1. So,
Okay.
unfortunately, the way Sony has been doing backwards compatibility, uh, you can't play this unless you have a Vita, PSP,
Mm.
or PS3, or like the original format one. But basically, nothing on modern consoles is. Legend of Dragoon. That's I don't know if you've
Yeah.
heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. That's a name. That's a name that's out there. It is. I have. Like there's a lot of games where again there's so many games we can't play almost every single thing on the planet. It's
Yeah.
impossible. It's impossible to play everything in the world. But is it a name that other YouTubers and other Twitter people and other people have mentioned? Yeah, that's a name. That's a name I've heard a lot of the times. So
Yeah.
Legend of Dragoon. I actually got it confused with I'm thinking of another one, another Dragoon game where it's kind of like it was. I think it was more Panzer Dragoon is the one I was thinking about
Panzer
before,
Dragoon.
but
Okay.
that's more of like a rail shooter, not the actual Legend of Dragoon. Like that's a different game.
Yeah. Legend
Yeah.
of Dragoon. I played it in college. Man, I played all RPGs in college, but on my PSP. I first played it on the PSP after beating Final Fantasy VII, and it's a great game, and it had one of those mechanics similar to what we mentioned before with Mario RPG, where while you're attacking, you can press like the square at the correct time, the square button, so that you can do like a combo. It's like a
There you
combo
go.
set, and I loved it. And he actually would even say stuff like it's I forgot what he said because it was so long ago, but he would say something like "Red Strike" like while he's attacking, and it
Mm.
was really cool. Love the world of it, the character design of how he looked, and I mean it's a Sony property, so only Sony can make it. But I wish they would port it or do something with it because they're really lacking in the JRPG area, at least for themselves, at least from like from Sony published. And I think if they did a remaster or a new one for Legend of Dragoon, I think it would go very well.
Yeah.
It'd just be like a huge undertaking, but you know, at least port it, at least like make it playable on PS5 because
I mean,
it definitely needs a port.
PlayStation's missing out on a lot of like I was googling a lot of RPGs yesterday. PS2 and PS1. had a plethora. I mean,
A lot.
they had so many. And man, I'm not even gonna throw this out. I'm gonna throw this out there. Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger.
One of the best. That is considered the best. I haven't played it, but the one of the best, considered the best RPG ever. That's what a lot of people, even more than Final Fantasy, anything else. Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross is the PlayStation one.
Second one, yeah.
But that was the second one. So, but then they released. I think they released like a twin pack or something, for both, for PlayStation. But like, that's just one example. I mean, okay, if I'm wrong about if there's already a re-release of it, that's fine. But my point is, there's so many on that backlog that, unfortunately, if they close down like the PlayStation stores eventually for PS3 and Vita and all the other places, they're going to be gone unless they decide for PS5 to make it backwards compatible, or at least put it in there. I mean, what harm is it to put like a lot of these games on there? Why not?
The main thing for me is that PlayStation has always been that beacon console or platform for JRPGs, specifically JRPGs, and I think Xbox has it down for Western RPGs, but PlayStation has been that, okay, I know I'm gonna get JRPGs on this machine. I know we're gonna get that on this, but they don't have
PS1.
Yeah,
starting from PS1.
but they don't have that backwards compatibility. They need that. Imagine if all your games that you downloaded, that you played, because there is a Chrono Trigger port on the PS1. Okay. It's a bad one. It's probably the worst port that I've ever played. Yeah, it's bad.
Wow.
Like,
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, it's bad. I think the best one was DS, to be honest. The DS version of
Wow.
Chrono Trigger, but yeah, they have so many. I mean, look at it. PS3, you can play Final Fantasy 1 through 10, I believe. 10 Final Fantasy games in one generation, on one console. That was big. They're losing that. They're losing a lot of that ability because they're just not focusing on that. Even if they were to put it on PS Now, the streaming service, those games are on there. So I would really love if more sooner than later PlayStation just gets down and they're like, you know what, these are important games. Let's get those PS1 games on PS5 as well, because not everything has a remaster. Not everything has a remake to it. Like I said,
Right.
Legend of Dragoon. If I can play that on my PS5, I would have downloaded it right now. What is it? $15? Okay, cool. Now I can play it on my PS5 as opposed to having my PS3 from 2006 connected onto my 2021 TV and
for one game.
For one game. So yeah, I mean, for JRPGs being my favorite one, it's hard to track that on PlayStation just because of the nature of the backwards compatibility.
And it's and unless they do something to change it, we're just still gonna have to dig up the old fossil of consoles and just still have to figure out how to do it every time. And then you have to get a special adapter for your TV because a lot of consoles don't work with some of our HD TVs. They don't have the connectors, so you gotta figure out, you gotta buy additional peripherals to do that too. And can you imagine how many of these? These are all like these are all like, at least I feel, easier to compress files and stuff because games back then didn't require as much space as they did. Can you imagine if a lot of these games came out on the Switch?
I mean, they are, but
a lot of them.
A lot of them are, but yeah, like you said, I would love a Chrono Trigger port on the Switch.
They do have one on PC though. I'm just looking it up right now. So
yeah, that's a good
PC
one.
That one's $15 right now. So they're still commanding pretty good prices on Chrono Trigger and the RPGs. I've always seen the Final Fantasies on Steam as well. They always offer it there. And then, putting the most definite version. Yeah, they love this version. So you're right. This is like the way to go for. And again, it has that similar Dragon Ball art style. It's the same. It's the same deal. So, PlayStation, come on, man, get on it. Follow the Xbox method. Don't you want to see more sales and everything? I think something like this will happen. It will. It will at some point. PlayStation's gonna see something. They ain't that closed-eyed to everything that's going on around the world. So, I think they will. Also, if I were to throw in some RPGs, they can throw in there as part of making it more backwards compatible again. I love the X-Men Legend series.
Yeah,
I like X-Men Legend again, and then Marvel Ultimate Alliance was actually one of my favorite action RPGs as well.
that one had a port.
Oh, that one did, and I love the story of Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, they
You're
have
doomed.
they have one and two on there. I don't think they're available anymore because the license went out.
Yeah.
But they did make Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 on PS4 and Xbox.
And then I never played the third one, but then that one's just they of course have the third one because it's more like Disney closer to that story.
Yeah, and that
So
one's
yes,
Switch
they released
only.
that one. Yep, that one's on the Switch only. Um, and I will just top it off with like the most recent one I played that was turn-based a long time ago. Uh, the South Park Stick of Truth is also something that was very fun. That if everyone's a South Park fan, get that one. The Fractured But Whole is actually a better game according to a lot of reviewists and a lot of people. But I never played it.
I never
The
played
Stick
it
of,
either.
the, you haven't played that one either. The
No.
Stick of Truth is fun. I love that one. That one's like more Lord of the Rings base. The Fractured But Whole is actually more superhero style. But
Okay.
if you're just a huge fan of South Park, and you're literally in a South Park episode when you're in these types, but at least the Stick of Truth was the turn-based style that was mentioned before. And I'll just top it off with the worst RPG I've ever played. That almost disillusioned me from turn-based in the future. Quest 64.
I never played that because I heard so bad.
Good,
Yeah.
good, good. Let me give you a little explanation of what happens on Quest 64. You're walking around. You have like the four elements, and then yeah, you could do the elemental attack. It's like a little bit of that combination thing that you were talking about. You can sort of move when they're doing an attack to maybe avoid it,
Yeah.
but you either summon a rock, you summon a little wave, you have a little fire attack, and then or you have like an air attack that has like little air dice like like it would just hit,
Hmm.
and you just walk, and if you don't have any magic, you just walk up to the enemy and pop him with the stick. That's what you do. I got to the first boss. That's as far as I got. God handed. It was the worst rental I had at Blockbuster besides Superman 64. And no, excuse me, I bought Superman 64, unfortunately. That's the worst game,
Oh
period. I know, man, it was Superman, and I was really excited, and I really asked my parents for it because it's
no,
Superman. But really, come on, man, you have to look at Superman as a video game.
no.
There was no YouTube. There was no YouTube and no internet at that time. I can't see reviews. I don't know. I don't know what it says. I had no word of mouth because
Sorry.
all my friends were smarter than me and didn't buy Superman 64. I was the dumb that bought Superman 64. And ever since I saw that little fox in front, Titus or Titus or whatever, however you want to pronounce it, it was how I knew like, oh no, the worst. But Quest 64 is at least playable, but it's a game that will turn you off to RPGs if you play that. Don't play that. If you
Okay.
if you're interested, if you see it, good luck. If you want to, maybe you saw something that I didn't see, but don't play that as your RPG. Play Final Fantasy X instead. Final Fantasy X is amazing. Play that.
There's a game that one of our listeners mentioned that I needed to rectify. I needed to change. I needed it to be in my repertoire of games that I've played, which is Lost Odyssey. And
Yeah,
I did,
that came in as a request.
yeah, and I did pick it up and I played the first 30 minutes, basically the intro, and it's probably the best intro I've ever played in any video game. At least in
Intro.
yeah, the intro, the introduction to the game. I was like, what is this? Typically I'm used to JRPGs being very slow at the beginning, showing you the world and characters and your character, but this thing starts off straight up action, like a huge Lord of the Rings battle for Middle Earth type battle, and your character's like slashing through enemies. He's like going through them all, and and then you fight a boss. You fight multiple enemies. like it goes from cutscene to actual gameplay. I'm like, whoa, that's actually pretty cool for a game at this time. I think it came out like in 2008, and playing through that and then fighting a mini boss, and then out of nowhere, like this is first 30 minutes, so you play this, but like it gets crazy, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And I just posted my reactions. I'm like, okay, this is definitely a game that I'm beating. It's one that I'm gonna be playing through
I'm playing
next
this.
year, and it for those who've never played it, I am now a believer just for those 30 minutes alone because I can tell that this is gonna be a really good one. And as I started, asking questions online, people started telling me that like, yeah, that's the game that one of the original creators of Final Fantasy made, and the composer. I'm
Ooh.
like, no wonder it screams Final Fantasy, but like modern
Oh,
day. And
whoa. Nobuo Uematsu does the soundtrack?
yes, and
What? Oh, dude.
let
Come
me see,
on.
let me see who exactly. But they started telling me like, oh yeah, it's this composer from Final Fantasy, or this director, this creator. And I was just losing my mind. I was like, this is why it feels so Final Fantasy. And somebody said this should have been the Final Fantasy we received if he never
Yep.
left Square Enix. And
Yep.
this would have been Final Fantasy 13. And I'm like, man, okay, so this is basically Final Fantasy without the name. And that got me even
Yep.
more hyped. That got me more hyped for the game. And yeah,
It's it absolutely is the same
yeah,
composer, Nobuo Uematsu.
you hear it, and I felt Final Fantasy. I felt it, and I'm like, this is something else. What the hell did I miss this for? So thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank
That's a
you. I
good.
think
That's
it
a
was
good pick.
Sixers Octavian who told me this, but thank you for telling me this. Jesse, I'm recommending it to you now. So he
Okay.
passed it to me. I'm passing it to you. If you
Oh
really
no!
want to,
That was the back to me.
you know what? I know this is off the cuff. This is really off the cuff, but I would like to have like a just like a segment, later on, if we are able to beat it, and just talk about like, yeah, this was a really cool game, and it's I mean I saw how long it took. Somebody told me it takes about maybe 30 hours, 30 to 45 hours, depending
All
on
right.
on all the stuff that you want to do, which I'm gonna get really deep into it. So this will probably be my Christmas break game that I play.
There you
Um,
go.
but yeah, it has that classic um, Final Fantasy feel, but in the modern, and it still looks good. I'm playing it on the Series X. There's no extras. There's no 60 frames or 4K, but it still looks good. Um,
Nice.
so that's my recommendation, even for someone who just barely played it. I'm really liking what I saw. The music got me, the art style, the characters, the battle, everything about it. It just screams premium, and I was like, why didn't we get a second one? But I took some research, and it didn't sell as well. Given that one, it's on the Xbox 360, which wasn't known for RPGs, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have that name. It basically did not have the Final Fantasy name, which is unfortunate. But
Imagine if this game was called Final Fantasy Lost Odyssey.
yes,
Imagine that. It would have been like sold like hotcakes on the
yeah.
name alone.
So I
Um,
wanted to showcase that one. I think that one should be one um, that a lot of people look at, especially now if you have an Xbox One, Series X, whatever. It's backwards compatible. I believe
is there a digital version or you have to get the disc?
there's a digital version.
Okay.
I believe it goes for $20 digital, if I'm not mistaken. I remember I mentioned it. I got it $5 on a sale, and just never. I just bought it. And I'm like, okay, this is $5. This looks pretty cool. Just by the art cover, but I haven't played it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, everybody, please get it on digital. It's running for $90 right now on Amazon.
Oh really? Oh,
Yeah,
I actually.
I just looked at it right now. Wow. Uh, okay, ever since the re-release boxes started coming out, some games are starting to get an uptick in price.
Yeah, well, I picked up Lost Odyssey. I think recently for $20 on
There you go.
eBay.
Oh,
It was
wait.
a used copy.
Oh, never mind. I found. Okay, never mind. I found a ton of used copies. Just kidding.
Yeah.
90 bucks. So this is a sealed versus unsealed debate.
Okay.
That's why it was 90. So this $90 one is probably not even touched. That's the one you want in your collector's edition. Like that's the one you want to hold on to if you're an RPG collector or something. Um, but yeah, okay, wow, okay, the collections are starting to increase. Another one, I haven't played it, so I'm not gonna talk a whole bunch into it. Was Blue Dragon? That was like the craziest art cover,
Yeah.
but it's one that a lot of people have talked about on Twitter, and it was one again that I have seen. Um, I have seen multiple times, but it's one that was very popular as well. I think that was another one that was maybe recommended.
Hmm.
Blue Dragon. Um, yeah, there is a lot out there. I'm just looking through the Amazon shopping cart right now, and yeah, RPGs are going to be here to stay. They're going to be here for a long, long, long time. So go out and enjoy whatever your fancy. If you want to be action oriented like myself, if you want to do turn based like mcquack, up to you guys. There's something for everybody.
That sound, the sound that we always know about. It's
Dun,
nearing the end.
dun, 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 dun.
Nearing the
Final
end.
boss battle. Boss time.
My boss pick of the week to coincide with the RPGs is none other than the boss in Final Fantasy VII, the original one.
Oh,
Spoilers if you haven't played this 23-year-old game,
this is
24-year-old game.
really old. This is old school game.
So Final Fantasy VII, it's Sephiroth, the one-winged
The
angel,
main, the main man,
El
the
Jefe.
El
Uh,
Jefe. This is a boss of bosses right here. I was talking to McQuack earlier. This is like a upper echelon of bosses, not just in Final Fantasy, but in gaming. Period. You put him
yeah.
alongside with like Bowser and Ganon and Dr. Robotnik and Dr. Wily type of detail.
So the thing with this one, not so much of the mechanics or anything like that, just because I felt like it was just a regular boss fight, but I think it was more so of the atmosphere that you're finally facing Sephiroth, and he was. I mean, like Jesse was saying, he's a main villain. He's one of those villains that people think about when it's like, hey, what's one top 10 villains of all time in video games, and Sephiroth, I'm pretty sure will make the list so many times, just like up there with Ganon and Bowser. But I remember going through the game and being entranced by this dude because he was so mysterious and he's so powerful, and you're like, how am I ever gonna beat him? And funny story to go alongside this, the boss pick is that I was playing this on my PSP in college, and I would play this game in between classes, and I was just leveling up. That's all I did was grind, 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 grind away. And cousin Josh was telling me like, "Oh yeah, this is a perfect spot to level up and to grind," to the point where I over grind and I got to, I think, level 80. I think I was
Mhm.
like 80, 81, and I went up against him, and I didn't know this, but typically by the time you fight Sephiroth, you're typically around level 35,
Okay.
maybe high 40 or like low 40s. I was 80, and I was fighting him, and I beat him so easily. And I remember telling him like, "Hey, he wasn't that hard." And he's like, "You already beat him?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What level are you?" I'm like, 81. And his hands went up in the air. Oh, whoa, damn! And I'm
He's
like,
like,
you,
what are you doing?
I'm like, you told me to grind. You told me that he was hard. So I
He
just,
said train.
so I was like, I spent like 2 days just grinding in one spot, in between classes, and then I just finally faced him, and he's like, "Oh my god, dude, that was overkill," and he was like, "Okay." And I think he said something like, "Okay, you know how like you face Brock, like imagine you have a level 100 Blastoise against his level 10 Onyx. That's what you did to him." And I'm like, "Well, like I guess so." And
I'm thinking about that now. If you did that, like if you have like Blastoise already, and you already have like Blastoise in the first gym and Brock's level 14 Onyx,
water gun.
like Hydro Pump, like oh shoot,
That thing would,
already.
yeah. I think I would just
Yep.
glitch it out. His Onyx would just die. It would show like a crippling, like
Yeah, dude, you already
pebbles.
do Hydro Pump and you're dead. Like you're already gone. Like bye, Brock. Have a good one.
Pebbles would be left over.
Yep.
But overall, though, Sephiroth was still always like that dark character that I'm like, damn, I don't want to face him. I don't want to, I don't know if I'm leveled up or not, and being ready. The music, the famous one we get Angel song, the that one is
One.
so iconic with him.
Yeah. I think that one's called One Winged Angel.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was so iconic for that character and just his aura. Like I said, the way he had his what was it, the Muramasa blade, and white hair, black clothes. It was just so cool just to fight him. I know he transforms into some weird angelic monster, and you're trying to fight him before the meteor hits, but that was my boss pick of the week. Just remembering that boss battle and the boss in general, of how, you know, grandiose it was facing him finally after like 60 hours of playing
Howard.
Final Fantasy 7. Yeah.
Yikes. Coming from someone again who's never played or finished the game of Final Fantasy VII, the original one. I just know Sephiroth more for his impact on media and video games in general. Because in the future, he ends up in other games. They cross him over into Kingdom Hearts.
Hmm.
He's now a Smash character, and he has big appeal impact overall. And he's one of the most popular RPG bosses of all time.
That's how
And
how iconic he was, or he
yeah,
is.
if you were to name if you asked 99 people a final boss of Final Fantasy, I feel like Sephiroth would be a top one within a lot of the 99. Or maybe like 80, maybe out of 80, like 80 out of 100 people will say Sephiroth
Yeah.
as their most popular one, or the one that they remember the most, because that's his appeal. I think the only other one that I can think of is Kefka Palazza from
Yeah.
Final Fantasy. That's another one that I would state is a popular one, but Sephiroth still his cross game appeal is what makes him that arc that he is. That if he's brought back into other games, yeah, he's the most popular final boss in Final Fantasy. So yeah, that is a perfect pick for today. That's like the monster of monsters in all of role playing games.
Yeah, and that's our show. Let us know your guys' picks. What's your guys' favorite RPGs, whether it be Western RPGs, JRPGs, action, whatever it is.
Yep.
Let us know in the comments. Let us know on Twitter. Like I know you guys always do, and we always welcome it
Yep.
and love
Yep.
it. But
Every time.
yeah, I mean, RPGs is, or specifically JRPGs that's my favorite genre in video games. It gives me, the most bang for my buck, if you will. But it also
Nice.
has different worlds, different level up systems and characters. Whether it be, a Mass Effect game, a Final Fantasy, Pokemon, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure that's one that there's one for everyone. I'm pretty
Yep.
sure you can find one, and I know a lot of games today they have RPG elements, like Far Cry has RPG elements and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
to stick to a very straightforward RPG, it's really good.
It is. I agree with you 1,000%. It's the most bang out of your buck for your gaming experience. It ain't over in the very end. There's collectibles, there's side missions. You gotta get stronger to survive in any RPG. You have to, and I agree. It's the biggest time sinks of them all. If you want something to more savor, if you're into quick stuff, If you want to get things done a little bit more rapidly, it wouldn't be your style straight away. But again, like you said, a lot of games are now incorporating more RPG elements because they see how popular it is, how people like to level up. So I would say just dabble in one, guys. It's fun. Give it a shot. Give it 1000% a shot, and let us know what you think. If you've never played an RPG before, even someone like me that's very more action oriented. I already mentioned fighting games and FPSs are some of my favorites of all time, um, which is why the action oriented RPGs work for me a little bit more. I don't mind some peaceful, more like turn based as well, but there's one for everybody that
Yeah.
can just that to just level your way up. There's one for everyone. Um, but yeah, just give it a shot. I would personally recommend myself the Diablo series. I'm actually very excited for Diablo 4 to be coming out at some point. I know it got delayed,
Mm.
but that's the one I'm gonna jump right back into the moment everything's announced to come right back. But Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 are great. Fallout series is awesome. Um, any of the Final Fantasies are the go-tos. Again, the standards, Lost Odyssey, like how you just mentioned this whole time, is fantastic. Thank you very much for the recommendations, everyone. Um, give one a shot. I'm gonna play some more RPGs. I want to get a little immersed in that. Maybe spend like a Friday night just chilling on an RPG,
Dragon
maybe with a
Quest.
maybe with a cool drink in hand, and just have at it. And
I
again, with my bigger TV, I'm gonna do it with my bigger TV.
I know we mentioned it a couple times, but it definitely is a good service is Game Pass. If you have
Yes.
Game Pass, really look into the JRPGs, and maybe you may find one it sticks out to you. I know one that came out this year, Scarlet Nexus. It has a weird story, but an amazing gameplay style. Uh, I would look up Scarlet Nexus on Xbox as well as the Dragon Quest 8. Um, no, not
You know
Dragon
what?
Quest 8.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest 11. That one's on Game Pass. I would look those up, see if any of those interest you, um, or any other ones that may show up. I know they've had the other Final Fantasy games on there. Another one that we never mentioned was the Outer Worlds. That's more akin to the traditional Fallout, games, but more in space. Uh, and all the Fallout games, like Jesse has said, Fallout. I
All
know,
three.
I know.
Crazy.
I don't think we mentioned it either, but also Skyrim. If you're looking into
Yep.
Skyrim, a Western RPG, can't go wrong with
Hmm.
that one either. So yeah,
No.
just try out an RPG when you can, especially if you have Game Pass. Give it an hour or two.
Yes. Give it an hour or two. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good time frame. After like an hour or two, usually a lot of the times the game will sink in, and then you'll
Yeah.
know if you'll jump in or not. The other one, last thing before we disconnect, is I'm gonna play that. I want to play that Yakuza RPG one
Like
because
a
I know I
dragon.
like a dragon because you said that one is an RPG
Yes.
style, not like Yakuza, like the more the Grand Theft Auto looking style.
Yeah,
So
that's the RPG style turn based.
so there you go. I will jump into that one because that one's also on Game Pass, and that one came highly recommended along with Zero. Yakuza Zero also came in. We'll do. But yeah, have fun, everyone. Just play something.
All right,
That's all I'm
man.
gonna say. Just play anything.
All right, Jesse. Well, I'll see you on the next week's episode. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving with your family. Plenty of rest, plenty of game time when possible. And
You as well, man. You as well. Hey, man, I'm gonna tell you one thing before Thanksgiving and everything goes off. I'm thankful for you, sir.
oh,
You're an
likewise,
amazing
man.
man.
Likewise.
You are a beautiful human being that I get to do every weekend. We get to do this lovely show, and we get to do this for everybody. And I'm thankful for all the fans that listen here as well, that take the time to listen to us and our talks and discussions about games, what's new, what's old, and I get really excited to share all these things with you guys every weekend. And thank you so much, everyone. And thankful for yourself and your fiance that's helped us out with the podcast throughout, and all amazing people, guys. And I wish everyone a very happy and awesome holidays.
All
Well,
right.
Thanksgiving for now. We'll be back on holidays, but Thanksgiving.
All right, guys. Thank you again. That's our show, and we hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you on the next week's.
Peace, everybody. Have a good one. Be safe.
Later.